Tuesday, and welcome to another edition of the Final Whistle, where the Avengers are still riding high after that Bama beatdown. We taught those Bulldogs to behave one more damn time. Nothing but the Tide. Look, I've got my all-star panel here tonight. Right below me, I got the man, Alabama wide receiver legend. I think there's a picture of him somewhere catching a TD or two. Maybe even a picture of him in Gillettes drinking a drink or two. Mr. One and only Matt Caddell. What's up, my man?
What's going on? You said a TD, right? Catching a TD?
TD.
Yeah.
And right. Go ahead, man.
How you doing tonight, everybody? Roll Tide.
How are you still riding high after Saturday night?
Oh my goodness, I have.
Next to him, the keeper of Blaze, disappointer of Grandolph. We got the man Ty. He's also the missing link. Looks like just a military symbol. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, they don't allow cigars on YouTube, or I don't know if they do or not. But I've never found the answer, so here I am.
Nice. And sliding over one more spot, number 32 on the field, number one in the hearts of not only the fans, but all the ladies of Rose Towers, the one and only Chris James.
All of them. Ask Matt.
All of them.
All of them and more.
And more. And speaking
What's
of
up?
more.
Let's get it.
Are you ready to do this?
I'm ready, baby.
And above him, the enforcer, the one that brings the heat, the pain, who I think probably appreciated when Ryan Williams kill everybody eye black more than any Bama fan. Well, Mr. Luscion Graves, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I am absolutely fantastic. As you can see, I'm in black because Ryan Williams already killed everybody, and I love his eye black, and I'll stand on that. Roll daggum Tide. We put them puppies in kennels. Now it's time to move on, folks. Time for an explosive show. Let's get it in.
Let's do it. And look, the Godfather, the star of the show, the man that keeps us all in line, little brother, big brother to Chris James, the one and only Dan James. How you doing tonight, my man?
Oh, man, I just stepped on a mouse trap. Let's get it, guys.
Well, look, we have
poison.
We got a jam-packed show tonight. Gonna be nothing but the Tide. We may touch a little bit on that Georgia beat down. We're gonna look ahead to Vandy. We might hop on an island with Matt and Chris. We may go to the danger zone with Luscion. But before we get all of that underway, let's give a little love to those sponsors that keep us going. And that's one and only Lamstone Company. Have you ever dreamed of having beautiful natural stone in or around your home? Well, don't settle for subpar materials. Check out Lamstone Company's selection of natural stone products to meet all of your project needs. Lamstone is located in Aniana, Alabama, and is one of the oldest, most trusted sources in the state. So contact them today. Tell them we sent you using the promo code the Bama Standard and get 10% off your first purchase. Man, can't beat that. Speaking of stone, I think that stoning of Georgia led to a very big pop on the recruiting trail this weekend. Man, I can only start with one man when it comes to recruiting and then let everybody echo off. And look, I know y'all are itching. Justin's going to kill me. 2 seconds each. Thoughts on Bama Georgia beatdown? Got to make it hot. Matt.
I just got to say, roll Tide. I'm glad Bama won. I'm emotionally drained. My blood pressure, my cholesterol, my heart, I don't think can handle all those emotions, especially when Georgia took the lead. But I got a crazy take about that. I'm not going to discuss it right there. Just going to show you how crazy psycho Kalen DeBoer is.
Nice. Ty, you're obviously need a cigar still to get over that game. Thoughts?
Yeah, there's a lot to like. There's some stuff not to like, right? I think there was a nice balance, but I think the beautiful part about a game like that is you can get a win against Georgia, a top 5 team in the nation, and still walk away.
Yeah.
No, lost the audio too.
Coaches have lessons to learn. And so I think.
Yeah. I agree.
Agree. Chris,
Yeah, man. It was crazy. How like the glimpse of what greatness could be, how good we can be, and then it brought back those Pete Golden moments, those Pete Golden memories when your stomach starts to get in knots. But you know what though? I had like a calm feeling this whole game over me, knowing that the whole time that we could put points up. You get what I'm saying? Like I feel so much better with Miro right now than I did this time last year in this offense. Because I didn't trust the offense at all under Reese. Just being real. But knowing how explosive this offense could be, how quick striking it could, I never panicked. Even though Georgia was coming back, I just said at some point we got to string a drive together. And knowing the weapons that we had, I felt the whole time we were going to win that game.
And yeah, I look, well, when you get a lead like that, it's hard not to feel that way. Lou, I know you're going to dive into some deeper aspects of issues you saw or some positives you saw in your danger zone later. So let's not, step on those toes, but any other quick takes on your final thoughts from that damn beautiful beatdown in Georgia?
The bottom line was it was an all-out war. It was dirty. It was nasty. And I'm not going to lie, I loved every bit of it. I'm not like, every other football fan. I like being like a little bit of emotion. I like a little bit of animosity. I like to face the grit, because when your back's up against the wall, that's when you learn something about yourselves. If our back's never up against the wall, we might as well be the Ohio State Buckeyes. So I love
Shots already fired. And Dan, before I tie this all into our very first topic, because I wanted to round this up and finish with you so you could talk about what our first topic is and how the game actually kind of leads into this. Hey, if you're watching us on Twitter /the X right now, go to the Bama Standard and hit that subscribe and like. Join the network. Let's join in. We got tons of stuff.
On the YouTube channel.
Come join in. But with that said, Dan, other than final takes, man, it was a huge weekend, not only for Kalen DeBoer, for the Tide hopping to number 1, proving to the country that this is probably you better watch out. This is a national title caliber team. What did this weekend do for recruiting?
Oh man, it was huge, huge recruiting. And how about Bama starting fast in a top matchup? I think that's the fast start we had in 2 years. We've been slow starting. We came out attacking. We came out hit the bully in the mouth. Or who they thought was the bully. But a tremendous weekend, man. We had a lot of visitors, but I want to start with 2 visitors that didn't show in particular. One was Justice Terry. His game got rescheduled, to Saturday night due to Hurricane Helene. And Derek Smith, we were supposed to get him back on campus, but I'm thinking that ship has sailed, with him not showing for such a huge weekend.
Yeah.
But lots of visitors on campus, up more than 100, blue chip recruits on campus. You had the Ivan Taylors, the Christian Ingrams, Jaden Harmon made his way back to Tuscaloosa. Plus our, 90% of our class, 25 class was on campus. But, this was a huge weekend as far as underclassmen, namely 2026, 2027 classes. We had the number 1 edge, Anthony Tank Jones on campus, Sadarian Morgan, Tyler Atkinson, number 1 linebacker on campus. We had Elbert Hill, number 1 cornerback on campus. Zion Gibson, number 6 cornerback on campus. We had Braylon Womack, the number 2 safety on campus. Samara Matthews, number 6 cornerback on campus. Then in the 2027 class, you had Mark Bowman, the number 1 tight end. You had Ellis McGaskin, number 1 linebacker. And it was a lots of top blue chip recruits on campus. And similar to what we did this spring with us getting a lot of underclassmen on campus early, we're building those relationships, and we got a good starting spot to go from there.
Well, do you see any of them, and any of you guys can chime in if y'all got the insight, any of these guys looking to pull the trigger anytime soon or looking to flip maybe?
Well, right now I'm probably keeping my eye on, prospects like Ivan Taylor, Jaden Harmon, see about getting them back in the fold. Alabama assured him, they're still going to recruit him. They like him a lot. hard hitting linebacker. You know, they don't just grow on trees. But I think we made a move with Jordan Edmonds, 2026 cornerback out of Georgia. Desmond Green, guard from South Carolina. You know, we're making tremendous strides as far as 2026 class.
Well, and look, man, games like that can only, look, you're already in with these kids. Games like that are only going to make it pop. I'm like you. I think Ivan Taylor's one to really be on the lookout for, to maybe be in the next big flip, especially with, no current safeties in that class. But man, when you just showed the world that you're pretty much still the king, that it's going to do some damage on the recruiting front, no doubt. But look, with all the excitement around that win and all the good things that come from it, got to throw a little water on that fire, because there's a long season to go. And look, guys, we're working on the rights with Kenny Loggins and Tom Cruise right now, and all the producers at Top Gun, so we can actually get the Danger Zone music. But man, it's time to go to the Danger Zone with one Mr. Luscion.
Hold on here. I thought we were going to go around and talk recruiting.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, Todd. Man, I was gonna let Dan. I was gonna let Dan, and if you got something to add, Todd, I can't see you there, so I almost forget that you're there.
No, Dan's right, but I would add two people in there. one, Mason Dunn, current commit of Ole Miss.
Okay.
I think he's the next to flip. I think that's the name. Ivan Taylor as well. And I also think that a name we need to keep an eye out on is Jet Washington, Bishop Gorman, athlete in the class of 2026, top 20 player in the nation. The reason I say that, guys, is this staff is incredibly cryptic. Before Micah DeBose had committed to Alabama, you had the staff posting pictures online saying -65, right? Because it was a cold summer in Tuscaloosa. Now, all of a sudden today, we get Aaron Hodges posting a picture of a jet flipping in air, right? So you can interpret that two ways. One, that a flip is about to happen, like Dan said. Look at Ivan Taylor, look at Mason Dunn. Or it wasn't just anything that flipped, it was a fighter jet that flipped. Jet Washington, class of 2026. And if I'm not mistaken, he was there this weekend, and
yes, he was.
for him to be there. Sorry, Petty, I just wanted to get that in before we transition.
No, my bad, man. I didn't look. I thought Dan fully covered the sandwich there, so we were going to.
It's too much.
No, with that said, man, Matt,
had 100 people.
Lou, y'all hearing anything on that front?
Yeah, I'm just hearing about the Dunn kid. I think some stuff is going on behind the scenes, as Ty alluded to. But I just want to shout out the recruits. I love how Alabama is very strategic. I think they did an amazing job hosting a lot of recruits. I heard Xavier Griffin, the big-time Wolf target. I think I heard he had good conversations with Justice Hill as well as Dawson Marriott. So, it could be a good class. And you got your leader, Keelan Russell, the #1 quarterback in the class. And just to see those guys celebrate, look at Ryan Williams be there on the field, I think that gives them a lot of hope. Guys like Duke Johnson said, he's shutting down his recruiting. So I think Alabama's rolling in the right direction moving forward recruiting. Chris?
Yeah, like when people kind of thought that the cupboard was bare, like we were going to be hurting, like we weren't going to recruit top fight for the top class anymore. Then you look at this weekend, prove them wrong. This was a crazy weekend for visitors. And just think if Justice Terry would have been able to have made it on campus, and things like that, man. I believe that he would have been blown away. And it's like a 4x100 meter relay. The baton is being handed off. Now it's time for the next leg. It's not the end of it. It's just it's a machine now, man. It's like a train. The train is on the tracks, man. It's going, but it's like a relay. It's just the next leg up, and the boys the next guy to carry this Bama legacy, on this relay. So that's how I see it, man. And it was just a great weekend, man. It was the coolest part that stood out to me was when Ryan Williams scored a game-winning touchdown, and they showed the recruits in the end zone how excited they were when he scored there, and Justin Hill, those guys are like, man, that's why guys like Tank Johnson them, they decided to shut down their recruitment. Man, that atmosphere was so electric, man. It's like, who wouldn't want to be a part of that? You know what I'm saying? Just this guy's 17 years old. He's supposed to be in the same grade as you, and he's doing that, and the crowd's with him, and 100,000 people yelling his name. Like, man, who wouldn't want to be a part of that after being there? It's crazy.
I think that's a great point, man. Emotions ride high, but those count for something, man. And it's hard not to get caught up in a game like that. And yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, Chris, because it did look like the recruits were really getting into it.
Especially Justice Hill's mom. She was hurt.
And what do we know about mamas? If mama's happy,
you're good.
You're good. Man, look, talking about good. I mean, the chat's just fired up right now. We got legends all over the place like Jimmy Clay, Van the Man Edwards, two-sport player Keith Holcomb's always in the chat, playing baseball, playing football. Hugh Freeze has left the massage parlor to join us. I mean, it is bumping. But with that bumping, I mean, Hugh Freeze ain't the only person in the danger zone. Luke, take us to the danger zone.
Mute.
Now, we all watched the game Saturday and had that roller coaster of emotions, but I'm going to harp on something that hasn't really been touched on, but I think it's very important in moving forward, and that is the evolution of our pass rush, and that's why they're in the danger zone this week. Ladies and gentlemen, it's simple. This is Alabama. We sack the quarterback, and that is flat out what we do here. We affect the quarterback. We don't let them just sit back there, get comfortable, and be able to just throw up skyrockets to any Tom, Dick, and Harry out there running seam routes on us. That's not what we do here. And in the last couple games, we have not had that elite level pass rush that we have maintained for the last couple of years. Now, everybody wants to say, well, maybe it's the scheme. Well, maybe it's the players. It's not any of that. It's just flat out sometimes effort to me that these guys just aren't getting and finishing the play. It's not that we don't have the talent. We got plenty of guys there, plenty of guys that can do it. They just got to finish the play. And going forward, we're going to face teams that have quarterbacks that if they're just allowed to just sit back there with 5 seconds, it doesn't matter if we have Patrick Surtain and the greatest DBs Alabama's ever had. No DB can cover for 5 seconds. Chris, am I wrong? Like you're not going to be able to cover forever. So we have to get a pass rush to affect the quarterback in his first two motions to get to that next step in our elite defense. So this week, the danger zone on the defensive side is the pass rush. And I'm specifically challenging that wolf position because we've had sacks from our defensive tackle position, from our linebacker position, but that wolf position was led on to be that alpha dog position, and we've seen it in the run game. I need to see it in the pass game. On the other side of the ball, the offensive line, I'm going to give you a shout out right now. The Juice Squad did their thing. You kept Jalen Milroe upright, and I will commend you for that. But where I'm going to hit you is all of a sudden we forget how to block for the run game. We have two of the best, most talented, most just smart running backs in college football, and they're not getting even the slightest crease to make a move. And if we'd have been able to do a little bit more of that, we'd have sustained some drives, and maybe all of us wouldn't have had a heart attack on Saturday night 5 or 6 different times. So this week on the offensive side, the danger zone, I'm going to need the offensive line to maintain that dominance. But for 4 quarters, I'm going to need you to put that dominance into the run game, not just focus on pass pro. So, and another thing, I'm going to harp on this whole team thing. Penalties. Penalties have cost us. We're averaging 77 yards a game in penalties. That is costing us. Offensively, defensively, special teams, it's got to get better on all three phases of the football. So that's going to be the third point, and that's going to end my danger zone for the night, good folks.
Nice. Man, it's hard to dispute any of that, Lou. Man, one of the things that you wanted to see Saturday night was some pressure on Beck, and it never materialized. And hell, it may have led to a lot of why he just threw all over the place in the second half. But before we talk any more on that, we got to give shout out to our two-way player Keith Holcomb dropping $4.99 in that super chat. Them Bulldogs hiked up both legs and drug their butts back to Athens. Yeah, man, that's what happens when you come to Tuscaloosa. You get taught to behave, and then you whimper back to your home state. And hopefully you don't get pulled over. Maybe they were going slow enough that the cops didn't get them. Matt,
I want to add to that. To Petty's danger zone. I think it's important that our secondary start. I know we had 3 picks, but we left at least 3 more picks out there on the table. We got to start coming down with balls. I think Malachi Moore dropped one. That could have been another pick. I think Sab dropped the pick.
Deontay Lawson
dropped one right.
Zabian Brown should have had 2 as well. You remember the one the receiver didn't even see it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's 4 picks. We got to make sure we come down with the ball on defense. Those are missed. Those are opportunities that when you're playing teams like Georgia and all these tough teams in the SEC, we got to be able to be ball dominant Hawks. And I think that's something that we cannot just be so excited with just getting the PBU. We just need to go ahead and just catch the ball and turn it over to points, give it back to the offense. I think that will help us moving forward. So we had 3 picks, but we could have had 6 picks. We could have had 7, 8. So that's something I wanted to add.
No, great addition. You got something, Ty?
Yeah, so I completely agree with Luscion. When you look at our offensive line grades, pass blocking, awesome. Once again, gentlemen, Caden Proctor, 2nd game in a row, has been the highest graded pass blocker for Alabama's offensive line. That guy's handling business. But run blocking grades left a lot to be desired. And even further, times where there was an opening, for instance, on that 4th down, Jam Miller had the ability to get the first down. He just would have stayed in the gap, but he bounced it outside. That was an inside run call. We had the first down. We bounce it outside. We don't get it. And then there was another one where we get it to the running back, and they almost brace for impact or look to juke. But if they would have just kept running towards the sideline or even running towards the first down, we get a first down. We had to punt. So stuff like that, right? Just super small things, I think will be something you'll see this coaching staff have fixed. I love the rack trap. That's something that shows this coaching staff knows that there's still a long ways to go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, look, long damn ways. Look, you can't rest on that. Great, we beat Georgia. There's a lot left to go in this season. And before next person chimes in, I do want to let you guys in the chat know, keep coming with those good questions. We're starring several of them, and we will be addressing all of your wonderful insights and questions. So keep those things coming. Anybody else got anything to add to Lou's danger zone? No takers?
I got one. I think I was just say, Ty mentioned the lessons learned from the coaching staff, but I got a crazy take. I'm gonna save it for later about that, just showing why Kalen DeBoer is a psycho. But
yeah, you keep teasing that one. I love it. Keep teasing it, Matt, and keep the people here to get the good stuff.
I think some of that might have had to do with some design because possible rematch with Georgia in the future. I don't know. I'm just me. Just some things I'm hearing. But so I want to talk about the coordinators, the lessons learned. But like Ty said, we got to get that run game established outside of Milroe, and we got to start having better third quarters. I don't think we've had a really solid third quarter in all the first 4 games. So we've got to start putting nails in the coffins on teams in the third quarter and not wait until the fourth quarter, or we got to start just keeping that momentum, being able to run the ball, because playing good teams, putting up points is great, but you got to be able to run the ball to win the game, control the game, control the clock, keep the defense off the field. We got to get that downhill running game going, and I'm quite sure. I'm hopefully, Richard Young gets back healthy. I think that can help with the rotation, but I think I'm glad we won, but I'm glad there's so many areas for us to improve on moving forward. That's going to help us, peak at the right time.
I mean, I agree about Young coming back, but man, you got to get there's only so much of the ball to go around, and right now, and I get that the game dictates play calls, but when you look at the stat sheet at the end of the night, and Justice has 4 carries and Jam has 5, or vice versa, and it's something close to that. You feel like you got to find a way. And look, you're nitpicking after a game where you just blitzed one of the best defenses in college football, but you've got to at some point. And I agree, Lou. I think the offensive line played great, especially keeping Milroe up. But, man, at some point you got to establish long drives with the run game. Before we get to the next topic and our next sponsor, let's answer a few of these questions because they are building up real quick. Dan, you may have answered this in the chat. Ephraim, one of the man, Tuscaloosa legend, Ephraim. Cam Coleman transferring to Bama.
Oh no, that I don't see that happening, because during his recruitment, he looked for every reason not to come to Bama. So I don't think he's a Bama type player. So no. Nail
in the coffin.
I think if he gets in the portal, I think Kirby's going to try to end up snatching him.
Oh, so Matt, right? You heard it first. Mac Goodell says Cam ends up at Georgia. Lock it down.
I think Kirby's trying to get into the state of Alabama and really going after Auburn targets.
Lou, you don't agree?
I don't want an Auburn player. Just me. I really don't. We did the whole experiment with an orange team getting the players, and Henry Cupcake didn't really do a whole lot for us, so I'm good on that.
Yeah.
Bama King Loyal. Now that Georgia has been taken care of, who will Bama's biggest test? Tennessee or LSU? I think you answered the question in your question, but I'll let anybody want to. I mean, I think this one's an easy one.
Go ahead.
You go for it, my man.
So listen, I've said for a while, I do like the pieces LSU has on offense for their offensive line. I think there's some talent there. It's LSU. They have some wide receivers. Caden Durham is a really talented back from Duncanville. I'll know I'm a little bit biased towards the Texas players, right? He played with Key Russ, so really like Caden Durham. That defense is atrocious. That defense is disgusting to watch. It's so bad. At least Tennessee has a defense. Now, gentlemen, here's something that we were talking about last night. All of those looks that Wannick showed Beck that confused Parson Beck. You don't think we're going to do that against Nico? You don't think we're going to show him 7 at the line and then drop into cover 6, and then the next time he thinks, okay, it's 7 at the line again, it's cover 6 again. No, now we're single high, and then next time we're bringing everybody. Tennessee is a bigger threat to me than LSU because they're a more complete team.
You can play defense.
I agree. And I saw actually Georgia try to run a play with Tennessee's offense. I think it was the play Damani Jackson got the interception. They had very wide splits. They had 2 up, 2 down, and they tried to run the screen game. So I think, to your point, Ty, I think that's going to help. But to answer this question, I do think it's going to be Tennessee. But, playing the road in the SEC is always challenging. But the answer is Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt is who we're playing this week.
There we go.
And Diego Pavia is no
we
slouch.
Can't overlook anybody.
Legit. And Pavia is no slouch. Kid's legit football player.
They're no joke.
We've got several more in the tank. I'm going to get to one more question before we hop to our sponsor and the next topic. I think it's a good one coming from BT Sports Network. Do y'all think that the second half plan was too vanilla? I think that they kind of went back to hiding their hand like games prior to Georgia.
I wouldn't say
I have a take on this, but I'll let y'all run with it, fellas.
I wouldn't say too vanilla, just too conservative. we then sometimes we started getting too fancy, the fleet flickers and stuff, but we got behind the chain and, we got away from attacking. We the second half was a time we should have been leaning on. We got two forces in the backfield. Well, three with Jalen, but you got Justice Haynes and Jam Miller. Why don't you just lean on the big offensive line that we have, and chew up some clock and lean on them a little bit, But
I agree.
I guess you live and learn.
Luscion?
I think that now actually like looking back at it and like seeing some stuff, it might have been all according to plan.
That was my hope too.
I think what a lot of people forget about, guys, it's game 4. You don't show your whole hand in the first couple rounds in spades. You got to save the money hands for actually when the money counts. And you don't win a national championship in week 4. So, yes, was it emotional? But I also don't think you tip your whole hand and show your whole entire arsenal closing out the best defensive team in the country. At the same time, too, you also leave the door open slightly to defensive coordinators thinking you have a weakness in not being able to run the ball. So that could be, because I've studied Kalen DeBoer, and the plan didn't make sense to me until I stepped back and looked at it. I think there's a larger picture. I think he's playing the long game, and we just have to be patient as Alabama fans. I know it's hard, but I think patience, and I think his plan is going to work out in the better. I think in about 2 or 3 months, we're going to look back at this very show and be like, we did figure out it's all part of the plan.
We're about to hop to an island, but before we do that, I don't think that was part of a plan at all. I think it was a game you're up 33 points and kids looked at the scoreboard, didn't come out with the same intensity. And one of the best coaches in college football, who A.J. McCarron said on 2 different shows last week, is the best halftime adjuster in college football. He watched him do it with his own eyes. Be prepared for Georgia to make halftime adjustments. I think it was a combination of Bama taking their foot off the pedal because they were up by 30 points and Georgia making adjustments. I don't think Bama was holding back against Georgia. I think it was a look, man. There's humans playing in those uniforms. When you walk in up 30 points, you're not coming out with the intensity you did when it was 0-0. Chris hit it, but we got to hit it on island.
Okay, and one thing, I just feel that we didn't want to get into because they knew Georgia was gonna be tough, as far as running the ball. I just feel like we didn't want to get those guys banged up. You get what I'm saying? Because after playing Georgia, man, you were wore out, you know what I'm saying, physically. After playing Bama, you were wore out physically. And I believe that we didn't want to get too banged up. Like, seriously, we wanted to spread them out because we know they thrive off physicality, and we wanted to spread them out and put those guys in space and do what they were uncomfortable doing. That was the offensive game.
And
all right,
it's the 12th playoff, so I think now Georgia showed their hand how they're going to try to stop our offense. That's why I think it was some type of according to game plan. Okay, we know they're going to put the 2 run linebacker spy on Milrow. So I think they're playing the long ball. That's why I think DeBoer is a psycho. I literally do. I literally think we got nothing but psychopaths on this staff.
Speaking of psychopaths, which I don't know, that's no seg way into this at all. But before we head to an island,
psychopaths and islands don't usually
psychopaths and islands, and he frees in the chat.
It's Halloween.
Even if you're going to an island in the buff, you're gonna take a towel with you. And why not have? If you're gonna have a towel, have the title towel. Boy, I got tongue-tied on that one, Whitwell. I've been doing good for you, brother. If you were going to this island with these crazy guys, you better be taking a title. But if you're heading to Nashville this weekend to teach those Commodores their place in the world, you don't go empty-handed. hit up whitwillsports.com. Tell them the promo code standard, get you a little discount, and head to that game with your title towel. One, Mr. Luscion showing it to you right now, so you can show those Commodores. When we take over that stadium and it's 80% Bama fans at a road game, let them see that title towel waving with pride. With that said, now that we got our towels in hand, let's go to the island.
Welcome to On the Island, guys, where Chris James and I, we talk about guys that line up on the island, the receivers, the DBs. We're going to discuss it. So I know we kind of mentioned it earlier. So I'm a receiver. I can't help but talk about a psychopath. This guy is literally a psychopath. Ryan Williams, we know he's the best freshman in school history. And I know he's in number 5 Heisman voting, according to some guys. But I just want to talk about, two things, Ryan Williams, and I want to talk about us being able to develop depth behind Ryan Williams. I think that's going to be very important. But let me just give the floor to Ryan Williams, give him his flowers. I mean, the kid made probably one of the greatest catches in Alabama history, instant classic. The way to have the body control, guys, I'm going to go ahead and say it. He's only 17 years old. To make that catch, the awareness, the yak, I mean, he's so far ahead. I mean, it's like playing a video game for him at this point, but he is just elite. I think he's going to come to be one of the greatest receivers, if not the greatest receiver to come through Alabama. Yeah.
Not named Matt Caddell, right? Of course.
Dude, he's blowing me out the water. But yeah, I think, with Ryan Williams, so much attention is going to be coming on him. So many teams are going to be keying on him. I think it's important. Bernard got some touches. I think Law got a little dinged up, so we held him out. So I think it's going to be important for guys like, Cole Adams came in, made a big catch, Emmanuel Henderson, those guys, Caleb Odom, Rico Scott. We've got to kind of start generating some depth in the wide receiver room outside of Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard. We know what Ken Law can do. So get some of the other guys, Caleb Odom, Cole Adams. He had a big-time third down catch. Shouts out to Slotty Pippen. But Rico Scott, some of these other guys are going to have to step up. That way we can, really be effective at the wide receiver position, just in case we have any depth issues. But like I said, Ryan Williams, the GOAT. I'm going to go to Chris and let Chris talk about who you shouting out on the defensive side of the island.
Yeah, I'm going to shout out a resilient freshman named Xavier Brown. Like how he played that interception was a thing of beauty. He stayed square in his back pedal, because a lot of young DBs, they tend to back pedal a step or two, then turn and run. Now they've lost sight of the ball. And how he stayed square and was able to see it all. And when the ball was in the air, he was already in position to high point it and get over the top of it. It was a thing of beauty, something that you would see from a savvy veteran. Also, how we blew the 28-point lead. I just believe that Carson Beck got in the zone. Sometimes, man, when a quarterback's in the zone, it's just hard. No matter what you throw at them, it's kind of hard. Just being a former quarterback, it's just hard to kind of stop that, man. When you're hot, you're gonna put balls in places. You know what I'm saying? That's hard for a DB to defeat. No DB. for a DB to defend. So also I want to highlight that play by Domani Jackson. How he intercepted that pass. How he was able to read that and react so quickly, man. That's an NFL play, man.
Film study.
That might have sent him up the draft board some rounds. Just something because he's already going to test well. He's big, he's tall, he has weight on him, he's very physical, he can flat out fly. And to make those type of plays, those are the plays that get you drafted high. It was a smart veteran play, man. And for such a young secondary, it was encouraging to see them not give up at the end because a lot of times we tucked our tails in the past and let a team come back and, kind of take the lead and the tent is folded. Or we'll give up something and it goes to overtime. Like, just think about all the times we've needed stops. Like against Tennessee 2 years ago, against A&M when we lost the game to A&M, against Michigan when we needed stops and couldn't get them. And we finally got that stop that we needed to secure that win against Georgia. So that was a beautiful thing.
And I like how I don't want to leave out Jalen Mbakwe. He made a big time stop, I believe in the third quarter, early in the fourth on a post route. It's good to see those young DBs still rotating and the confidence that they're still playing, being able to come in, give Xavier Brown, Damani Jackson a break. I think Jones came in, King Mack came in at the Huskies. So I just want to see that on the receiver side. So, yeah. What are you going to say, Todd?
I think a wide receiver, Matt, because you're right. We need to get someone worked in other than Ryan Williams. And not that Ryan Williams can't do it. The guy has shown he can. Do you know how much harder it's going to be to cover Ryan Williams if we keep featuring Jeremy Bernard and showing them, okay, you want to go double Ryan, Jeremy will eat you alive. But the other one?
Who, Ty?
I think we lost him again.
Hey, your 56K is going in and out.
Can y'all hear me?
We can
hear you. What'd you say? Who do you say, Ty?
Yeah, Emmanuel Henderson.
Emmanuel Henderson. Okay.
Dodge, Wisconsin, and then again.
Can't hear you.
He is going to be a terror.
Yeah,
I agree.
Man, we're losing you pretty bad there, Ty. You got something, Lou?
I want to give a quick shout out right now. Our tight end room did work on Saturday, and I just want to give them some love. CJ Dupree and Josh Cuevas, y'all did your thing, and I think that's a little bit of what Caleb DeBoer said a few years ago when he was at I think it was at Fresno State, when he said the evolution of an offense. I think we're starting to see some of the other things we're going to be highlighting, not just Ryan Williams in our offense, as in our tight ends, as in some of these other receivers that we've mentioned, Emmanuel Henderson, and can't forget about Kobe Prentice. But I think our tight ends are going to play a pivotal point in our offense going forward because they're matchup nightmares. We've seen the Georgia, and that's the top defense that everybody says in the country, and they were having trouble guarding our tight ends. So look for them to be big going forward, guys.
Hear you. Well, look, we have beat that horse or dog to death. It is time to move on.
We're eating the dogs.
We've already eaten the dogs. It's now time to focus on the doors because we're heading to Nashville. Guys, playing Vanderbilt is like that single guy going to a bar. You walk into that bar and you're like, damn it, I'm going to snag me a 10 tonight. But then you start getting you some shots and things start to get a little bit murky and you may go home with that 5. Now you go home with that 5 and you count it as a W, but you don't feel real good about it in the morning. That's kind of like when you go to Nashville and play Vanderbilt. That's about as good as an intro as I can give you to Vanderbilt because we're going to beat that ass. But guys, give me an early look. Tell me what y'all see coming with the Vanderbilt Commodores. Matt, going to start with you and then go around the horn.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's, they're no joke. This is a team that, beat Virginia Tech at home. Had a tough, I think, overtime loss to Missouri. We know Missouri is one of the top teams in Columbia, Missouri, I believe. So this team with the quarterback, the offense that they're running, if you have a look at it, it is going to be a challenging time. But I think Alabama has the right mindset coming off the big time victory in Bryant-Denny versus Georgia Bulldogs. You know, we had rat traps all in the facility. So guys getting their mind right. But listen, this Virginia, Vanderbilt, offense and defense does present a lot of challenges. We just got to come out and be dominant for 60 minutes and don't overlook these guys, because this is a different type of Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt historically, I think Chris can kind of allude to this, usually historically plays Alabama pretty tough. Usually the games, outside of just being blowouts. But I'm listening. We got to come with it versus Vandy. Don't listen. You listen coming from a guy who lost to Louisiana Monroe. Don't overlook that.
They showed up in the cheese.
I know they showed up in the cheese bus and we lost to them. So don't overlook these guys. These guys are ready. Ty?
What? Go ahead. No, go ahead. Ty, you got something? I was about to switch.
Yeah, I think with Vanderbilt, I think one of the things that helps Alabama is that their leading rusher is their quarterback. And that's something that Alabama, you prep every day in practice for a quarterback that can hurt you with his legs. And as much as I think Diego Pavia is a fighter, he's no Jalen Milroe. Now, he hasn't thrown an interception this year. I expect that to change on Saturday. Their leading receiver is also their tight end. So watch for Jahad Campbell. I think it's very likely that Jahad Campbell will get an interception, or Deontay Lawson may capitalize. He's missed 2 would-be pick sixes. This could be the one where he gets.
Patty?
I hear you. Chris, got anything to add to that, sir?
Yeah, man. Vanderbilt, man, let me tell you, they're like, the cartoon, like the Wile E. Coyote. He's every time he's about to get the road runner, then something happens, the road runner escapes. That's what it seems like playing Vandy is. Like they're the almost team. They almost get there, and then they choke it away like the field goal against Missouri in overtime. Like it's kind of like, it's funny, man. But I think while Vanderbilt is a good team, I just don't think they have enough firepower to hang in this one. They may have some success offensively, defensively, but come on, man. Like I'm not the one playing the game, so we can be real about this. We're not the ones in the locker room that have to sit here and stay focused and stay dialed in and you get what I'm saying? And focus on the game, one game at a time. Like, this is what we do. We can actually look at the game and just be real about it. And I'm just being real. I expect Vanderbilt to put up a fight early, but I don't think this one will be close.
Coach Chris James.
Yes.
Take me to your coaching room real quick. You pull out your blackboard. I want you to talk to us about the offense that Vanderbilt runs, that triple option offense. You played against it. I want to know how we're going to stop it. Tell me how you're going to get your guys set up against this attack. It's tricky if you're not dialed in. If you pursue, you're going to lose. So let's talk about that. I mean, their offensive ranking in terms of numbers across the nation is not the best. But you know what? You don't have to be the best. You just have to execute every now and then. But most importantly, here's the big caveat to how their offense is successful and how Vanderbilt is staying in games. They are bleeding clock, something that Coach DeBoer could probably learn from in big games like against Georgia. We're going to move past that. But the triple option can be a pain in the ass. So what our viewers need to know is, what kind of threat does that actually pose to Alabama?
Well, you remember Georgia Southern ran it down.
Tin horn.
Goose. But the thing about it, man, it's all assignment football. That's all. Defending the option, defending the wing tee, all that type of stuff. Those offenses that you have to run because you don't have enough talent to match up. So you getting those gimmick offenses. It's assignment football, and things like this. What people don't know is during fall camp, Matt will tell you, when you have teams on your schedule that run something different from what you're used to seeing, you may have they'll throw it in fall camp to introduce you to it, that you'll start to see it in fall camp at some point during fall camp. You get what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure Bama saw some Tennessee. They saw some South, all that stuff like that. They saw this stuff in fall camp. This triple option, they saw it in fall camp too. So even though it seems like this is Vanderbilt week, trust me, they haven't. This is not the first time these guys have seen it since spring. I promise you, it's not. So it's just basic assignment football. And if you have the quarterback, you got a key in on quarterback. You have dive, you got to take dive. You have pitch, you have pitch. It's assignment football, and we out-athlete them. And I expect us to stuff that dive and have that hit that quarterback all night. But I just don't see them. I don't care how much clock you bleed. You can't convert on third down. You're off the field.
Well, okay. So Luke, I think that actually sets up a good question, because you had a program this week that lost to a team that used the exact blueprint, and it worked to their favor of not letting an offense on the field, and that was Kentucky against Ole Miss. Ole Miss held the ball for like 8 minutes in the first half. They ran 33% less plays than usual because it worked. I'm not saying I think Vanderbilt can make it damn work, but that is the game plan. Put Jalen Milroe's ass on the sideline, keep that high potent offense, and pray to God you can hit some of those third downs. Because look, let's be real. That's one of the things we've complained about on this very show is Bama getting off the field on third downs. Luke, I know you don't give a piss about nothing, but Tide, does that worry you at all going into this game?
Getting off the field on third down? No, we're actually one of the top teams in the country at doing that, actually. So, actually, no, third down doesn't worry me. I think this game is going to be about getting reps. I think this game is going to be about getting some guys that haven't been on the field, whether it be the injury, whether it be just because that time hasn't been for them to hit the field and get that game time experience in. But I still think we're gonna boat race them. We got too much talent and too much speed in our skill positions for them to handle. So Bama by 50.
There you go. Dan, you're a resident historian. You know the history of this game and the times that look, and I know here lately Vanderbilt hasn't been the Vanderbilt we dealt with in the 90s that would make a game go down 9-6. But we have seen those games. You've seen it. What's your thoughts, man? You've been the silent assassin tonight.
Yes, what I want to see, if I'm Coach DeBoer, what I want to see, after a game like this where we had a letdown in the second half, this is an inferior opponent. I want to see, can we dominate? I'll be preaching all week. Let's dominate for 60 minutes. Let's complete domination for 60 minutes. Let's see, can we maintain intensity for 60 minutes? That's all what it should be about this week. When you're facing a team like Vanderbilt, and I agree, Luke. We're one of the best teams in the country on third downs, but it's just fourth down that killed us, last week. So, I want to see, can we play a clean game, and let's dominate for 60 minutes.
There you go. And look, let's be real. If you go up Saturday and you don't do that, something went wildly wrong, because this Vanderbilt team doesn't have the guns. The quarterback thing's cute, and I do think the option can present problems, but I don't know, man. This team showed me a little something last weekend. I think it's a little bit different. But before we give you our final thoughts and predictions on Vanderbilt, man, I guess it's time for me to ramble on a little bit more in my weekly segment, because the questions keep coming. So I guess I'm going to keep answering them. It's time for Petty's mailbag. It gets a little tough. It hits the fills this week. So guys, get your tissues ready and then bear with me. Jay from Tuscaloosa, you've let it slip on this show that you're some weird crossbreed of Ole Miss and Bama fan. How do you handle days like Saturday? I'm assuming you're talking to the Ole Miss bed shitting followed up by the Alabama once again proving their dominance. That's actually a great question. Well, Saturday morning, I wake up and I put on my Ole Miss clothes and I go to the nearest barn and I let a donkey kick me in the nuts. And once that's over, I have a few cocktails, put on my crimson, and then realize, oh shit, everything's right with the world. We just kicked the dog's ass for the nighttime in 10 straight games, and I'm all good. So I don't know how I deal with it. I'm a weird mother sucker. So I deal with it the way I do. But by the end of the day, I was pretty damn happy. So roll tide. Gene from Pearl, Mississippi. Freeze has done it again. What is your thoughts on his latest statement? I think you're all aware of what we inherited. Well, what I think is Freeze is like the damn Jelly of the Month Club. He's the gift that just keeps on giving. Look, man, I tried to put this in the thoughts, but instead I called Brian Harson to get his thoughts on Freeze making that comment about what he left him. And all he said is, I can't hear Freeze through all this money Auburn's paying me to go away, but just check the record check for the last 20 games, asshole. All right. Jimmy from Atlanta. Petty, I've noticed the baseball stuff in your background. Do you have thoughts on Pete Rose? Ooh. Jimmy, I'm actually glad you brought that up, man. I do have thoughts on that. A lot of times in life, and I just mentioned donkey kicks in the nuts, as sports fans, our worst days come because our team's lost or something happened like that. But yesterday, was something totally different in the sports world for a lot of fans. And that's when legends pass on. And man, it wasn't just Pete. Like, if you grew up in my era and you're of my ilk and skin, if you don't know what this means, then we aren't the same people. But Dikembe Mutombo was an absolute legend that we lost at the age of 58. And man, what he did for his country, and he came in at a time where basketball NBA was predominantly American dudes still, and he was one of the first. And man, follow that up with, again, that's part of our history, and it's moving on. And then Pete Rose, who's inevitably one of the most controversial figures in the history of baseball. I wrote articles on him in college about how he should still be in the Hall of Fame despite breaking one of the 10 commandments of baseball. Look, I get it. Gambling is on the 10 commandments. You do this, you're barred or whatever. But I guess baseball is higher than the good book and the big man and can't forgive, because I think it's an absolute travesty that Pete Rose went to his grave and didn't go into the Hall of Fame, something that he absolutely deserved based off his actions on a baseball field. Pete Rose is what your dad showed you on how you played the game. Charlie Hustle was the epitome of reckless abandon. So, man, Jimmy, thank you for that question. I wanted to take a moment as a sports fan to give some love to the great Dikembe Mutombo and the legend that was Pete Rose. I did get to shake his hand, ironically, in Vegas, given the whole gambling thing. But hey, man, as a sports fan, yesterday was one of the tougher ones, even tougher than any kind of loss you can get on a Saturday when you see the legends go. So, again, thank you for the questions. Always love to do the mailbag, and I will catch you next week. Let's get on to some brighter and better things like Alabama whipping Vanderbilt's ass, how we think it's going to go, what we think the score is going to be, and who do we think the dudes are that are going to make it happen. Matt, I've started with you way too many times tonight. I just got to go in reverse. I got to start with man Dan, then we're going to go to Lou, we're going to go to Sleepy Chris, we're going to go to Invisible Ty, and then my man Matt Cadell. Dan, how's this game going?
Oh, it's going easy, man. Alabama 56-0. Player of the game, Jalen Miro, Jahad Campbell.
Oh, like it. I mean, it's hard not to look. Jalen's like that bet. You're just riding a heater at this point. I'm just taking Jalen till it ain't damn Jalen, and he's getting the ball.
He's gonna always be Jalen.
He's scoring 5 touchdowns a game, putting up half 100 a game. You're gonna keep getting MVP. Lou, you see this going any differently?
You know, I see this game being like a Big Ten Ohio State football game. It's probably going to be greatly one-sided because this is going to be considered a lesser game. So, like Dan said, give me a portion of that's about near 100. I think give me player of the game, give me Justice Haynes. And on the defensive side, I'm going to say the Wolf position as a whole, because they need to show me something. They need to establish that dominance. So that's going to be the whole Wolf position as a whole, my player of the game.
Hey, you called them out in your danger zone, and now you're giving them the love. I love it, Lou. You're calling them, and you're expecting them to step up and play.
Hey, that's what you got to do in this generation. It's not like back in the day where you can just chew us out and expect us to become men, because that's just how it was. You got to build their character up a little bit. You got to break them, and then you got to build them up slowly. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Chris. as Lou builds them, as Lou breaks them down and builds them up. How do you see Bama taking down the Doors this weekend?
Since possessions will probably be limited with Vanderbilt trying to run out the clock, I would have said 50 something, but I think we're scoring in the 40s. I'm going 48 to. I don't even want to give them 10 because I don't think the option stuff is going to work. I'll say 48-3 Bama.
Ooh, okay. I can feel that conservative, and I feel like that's probably a very look. They are going to try to take possessions away from Alabama. Woo! And that is the only way to for them to even remotely keep it close. I think there's just too much tide. Speaking of too much tide, Ty, what's your thoughts?
I think Dan hit the nail on the head. I'm going to go 56-3. I could see a late field goal. Jalen Milroe, Jahad Campbell.
Ooh, nice. Little window dressing to make it not feel as bad on the goose egg. I hate that shit.
All intentional.
My man, Matt, who's already given his title, is the greatest receiver in Rose Towers history to Ryan Williams. How do you see this game going?
Listen, I think it's going to be, like I said, it's all about Alabama's attitude. They come out focused, not fall for the rat poison, and, go out there and want to dominate Vanderbilt. I can easily see it being 48-10 Alabama, easily getting up to in the 50s and 60s if they wanted to. So I think, like Luscion said, they're going to try to rotate a lot of players and, get as much depth as possible and get ready. Because we're getting a long season, we got to get a lot of young guys playing. So I'm going to go 48. What did I say, 10? Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
I like it. Did you get players? I was reading some.
My players. I'm going to go with the running backs. I'm going to go with Jam, Miller, and I think I'm going to go defensively. I think it's going to be somebody up front. I think it's going to be the big nasties. Give me probably my favorite defensive lineman right now, James Smith, on the number 23. I like that kid. He's
sick.
He's
Harbor boys.
I forgot to give my players of the game.
Oh, give them.
Huh?
Go for it.
Only
Chris.
2, Chris. Only 2.
No. I forgot to give my game my score, but I didn't give my players of the game. Milroe on offense and LT Overton on defense because he's gonna be smacking that dive right in the mouth.
Nice.
He's gonna live in that backfield. No Diddy.
Man,
I was about to you beat me too. That's gonna say no Diddy.
Man, I'm with you guys. I don't know if it gets into the 50s because I do think Vanderbilt's going to try to slow it down, and it's not going to help, but Bama still will find a way to get 42 to 49 to. I'm with Ty. I don't want to give 49 to 3 Alabama. Players of the game. I'm going with Williams. Give me Hollywood. I think they're not. If Georgia can't cover him, I promise Vanderbilt can't cover that kid. And then on defense, I'm going to keep rolling with my boy who is bringing it, Jahad Campbell. Man, like I say it every week. He's my new prototype. I know Russol's stud too, but I love them both. I love both guys, but I'm going with Campbell. Before we get out of here, give some socials and all that good stuff. We did have a few more questions from these lovely fans that we would get that we need to shout out real quick. Sheila K, I would like to ask, do you think Saban would let a team come back, take the lead with what looked like a vanilla play in the second half? Also, the snapping of the ball with too much time on the play clock. I'm not going to lie. That was one thing that I was like, what the hell are we doing? We could have taken off a minute and a half off the clock where we were snapping it with 22 seconds left there late in the game. Who wants to take the Chris? You got your hand up, man. You got it, Chris.
Have you not forgot about the championships we lost because of comeback team coming back on us? Ohio State, for example, still sticks in my head. When all Lane Kiffin had to do was run Derrick Henry. Run, Zeke, run. So I would say Saban is perfect in that department because we've had times where we've blown games the same way where we had comfortable leads early on and teams came back on us and beat us.
Does
I also
someone?
don't know that we would have had 28 in like the first quarter, just because Saban, like
Right.
this offense is
Facts.
just so explosive.
Yeah, that's you can play the what if game, I
double-edged
think,
sword.
on that one all day. But the one thing you can't play the what if game on was the clock management at the end. We've kind of had a back and forth. Smoke was more on the coaches about that. Like, hey, you got to be in Milrose's ear up to 15 seconds. Say, don't snap the damn ball till there's 2 seconds left. And it looked like every play we were snapping it before the time of the ability to the coach to communicate was done. He's snapping the ball. So, yeah. What y'all? I mean, anybody want to take that?
I think you're right on, Petty.
I agree.
Yeah, that's something that's got to definitely get fixed. So moving on, we got Monica Petway. Do you think they got the message not to sleep on the next game, Lou?
I think that this coaching staff that Kalen DeBoer has assembled is one of the greatest groups that has ever been assembled in college football, because all of them share a common attitude that they generally care for these players. So trust me when I say I don't think these coaches are going to let these players not show up to this game ready. We have coaches like Shepard on the defensive side, Womack, Roach. They're not going to let these players just sleepwalk into this game. I truly don't believe that. I think they got the message, and I think they got a little taste of that upper echelon of winning, and they don't want to lose that. Because once you get that taste of blood in your mouth, you want to keep getting that in your mouth. And Alabama ain't nothing but a whole bunch of thirsty dudes for a championship, and I think that's just going to drive them.
Nice. And finally, Sheila Kay. I'm a little concerned that when we saw a player or two go down on the offensive line, concerning of the talent level with replacements. I pray all stay healthy. Dan, you've usually got a finger on the pulse of the injury report. Is that something to be concerned with? I mean, of course you want to play your starters. They're starters for a reason, but is that a concern?
No, not at all. Not definitely a concern. Did you say offensive line? No, I don't think there's much concern, especially going into Vandy week, which is semi-bye week.
There you go. Well, guys, man.
Who got hurt on the offensive line?
I don't know. Justin just texted everyone's fine. So Sheila, no worries. The front will be okay. And going into Vandy, I mean, you're not going to push it too hard anyway, I would hope.
Yeah, and we're trying to get depth. But can I address the Ohio State Buckeyes real quick?
Go, Matt. You've been itching to address the Buckeyes.
They tried to come in my comments, roasting, talking about, because Ohio State, if Ryan Williams does so great, they're like, what about Jeremiah Smith? What about Jeremiah Smith? And so I politely said, listen, Bama's a bigger brand. The SEC is a bigger brand. And a few Ohio State fans did not take that lightly. And instead of me responding, they asked about what metrics do you measure this by? I'm going to tell them. A, championships. B, TV ratings. C, what else?
Competition.
I mean, look at the schedule. I mean, the list can go on and on. So I just had to get that off my chest. You Buckeye fans out there, it is what it is.
This is for the Buckeyes right here in my background.
Cupcakes.
Bunch of soft ass cupcake schedule. Y'all don't even play a game to Oregon, and that might not even be a game.
Literally.
Cupcakes.
And now you piss Matt off. Look,
I mean, and you pissed me off too.
I just don't understand their logic. I don't understand the logic of the Big Ten. If your two biggest horses are Michigan and Ohio State, why don't you treat them like big dogs and schedule competitive non-conference games instead of giving them cupcakes? Like Michigan had the same issue last year. Cupcakes for the first, 8 weeks. Ohio State got the same thing this year. And you added more teams in your conference. You got Washington, you got USC, you got why?
At least Michigan played Texas.
Michigan at least played Texas this year. I'm not understanding it.
if you're hearing, if you're listening, if you're reading the tea leaves of what's going on between the communications of the Big Ten and the SEC, we may not be worried about this much longer. We're about to see the AFC and the NFC, which is the Big Ten and the SEC, and we're going to have 5 or 6 teams playing in the playoffs from each, and everybody else can go suck an egg. So Ohio State's about to have
Looking
to
at
come to the
you,
big boy
Florida
dance.
State.
Yeah.
Do what?
Florida State.
I said, looking
Ain't gonna
at
be a
you,
Florida team in the
Florida
playoffs.
State, you can go
here.
suck an egg.
Yeah, the Florida
Need to
schools will
relegate
fall
them
off
and
before
take
the state
USF.
does. Well, look, guys, we have the week's not over. We've still got a jam-packed list of shows coming at you tomorrow night at 6:30 Central. The Crimson Dynasty with Shishi Payne, my man Dan James, and I think JB's joining them this week. So check out the Crimson Dynasty tomorrow night. Then following that at 8:15 Central, you have Teague's Take. Look, man, he's breaking it down, giving you all the X's and O's from the Georgia game and then going into the Vanderbilt game. It is one of the hidden gems of the network, George Teague breaking down football. It's freaking gold. Then Saturday, soon as that clock strikes 0, tune in right here for the post-game show on the Bama Standard. And then Sunday nights, Talking Bama at 7:30 Central with JT, JB, man, Marshall, and I think Stephen M. Smith shows up from time to time. So we have a jam-packed week for you. Guys, how can they follow you guys, Matt Cadell?
Listen, follow me here on the Final Whistle, the Bama Center. It is what it is. Follow me on Twitter, M. Cadell. I'm roasting. Hugh Freeze, whoever. At the end of the day, roll tide, roll. I don't give a piss about nothing but the tide.
My man, Ty.
You can put it around the sports report.
I think it's Bleacher, all around the table sports and Bleacher Report.
And Farmers Only?
I'm so sorry. Spectrum is really. Hey. I haven't had the roll out of that yet, Petty. We'll get to it.
I didn't know if you could even hear it, man. I tried to throw in the bar. Maybe I could get it in without you hearing. Chris, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook at Chris K. James Sr., on X at Coach Chris James, on Instagram at final_whistle_Chris. And you can find me on Sidelines on Friday nights, chewing out the refs.
Yelling at those refs. Are they not treating you right, Chris? Luscion, where can I find you, my man?
Listen, you can find me on X at Luscion Graves. Also on Facebook and Instagram, Luscion Graves. Actually on X, it's RollLoose241. Look me up on there. You can find me always, and I mean always, no matter what time of day it is, I'm going to be trolling either something orange, Hugh Freeze, or them cupcake nuts in Ohio. Like, why is your team name a nut? Like, that's just dumb. But I digress. You can find me on Tuesday nights with the Avengers, because we tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the damn truth. Roll daggum Todd, ladies and gentlemen.
Dan James.
Yeah, you can catch me on X at the Final Whistle Dan. And all this week, y'all can catch me in Southwest Georgia somewhere trolling these Georgia Bulldog fans. And I'm loving every minute of it.
Me too.
Look, you can find me at Petty_Daniel. You can find me on Monday nights with Gerald Smoke Dixon on the opening kick at 7 Central. And more importantly, you can find me on Tuesday nights with the greatest gang of Avengers on the damn planet here at the Final Whistle at 8 Central. As always, man, it has been a hell of a ride with you guys. And how do we finish this thing?
Roll tide,
Roll tide, roll.
Blitz.
Don't use that